You have to really make sure management equals momentum, growth, systemization, and reviewing KPIs. Another issue is a lot of times people think, oh, I have a process within my business. It's kind of like a set it and forget it thing. And it's the same thing as training. It's something that's ongoing. So I think it's just important to understand that you don't have to be perfect to get started, but you have to get started to be perfect. I love that quote.
This is the HSM.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome as we kick things off here. All right. So, for those of us who are going to be joining in, what we are going to do today is actually do a live interview with Liz. Yes, clean that camera, make sure it's squeaky clean, because we're going to dive into a lot of really great things about roofing operations, processes, structure, all the things that everybody who's involved in a roofing or home service business cares about. So basically how this works is I am going to spitfire a bunch of questions to you, Liz, that you probably could know with your eyes closed at this point with the amount of companies you've built. But before I do that, I'm going to start with an intro to kick things off. Sound good?
Awesome.
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We are excited because today's guest is none other than the roofing process and structure queen, Elizabeth Holgan, who also happens to be my business partner. Liz, welcome.
Hello. I'm so excited to be on this podcast with you today, Ariel.
So, for those of you that people out there that just don't know about you yet, which I'd be very shocked if you're in the roofing industry, but give us a quick intro and the bio. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so I started off in the roofing industry in 2015. Like many of us, I started at the bottom. I did not get to where I'm at today by coincidence. I put in a lot of hard work throughout the years to really understand the industry in many different levels, everything from what it took from the manufacturing, supply side, the technology side. For a roofing company to be successful, and my main driver from the beginning was, since I was serving roofing businesses from the very beginning, it was to help my clients and be of value. So that's a decade later, here I am with Business 411, and we've helped over 3,000 roofing companies with their education and systems. So it's just very fortunate that to be here serving so many people.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had to rock the Business 411 hat today for this episode. I want to dive right in because there's so many things you've accomplished and helped others in with roofing companies accomplish. And you've gone in, your background, I mean, you've went in and consulted, I mean, for roofing companies from just starting out to, multiple eight figures. When you go in and dissect the roofing company and you dissect the operations and the structure, what are some of the most common pitfalls you see them making?
Wow, that's such a great question. So I just actually got off the phone with one of our clients who's experiencing some pretty exponential growth in their business, and they're making the same mistake that is very, very common, which is where you have someone who's leading operations, who's more of like really just an admin that has a higher title because there's less roles within the company. So what truly is someone who's working in an admin role typically has an operations manager title. And then the other one is a lot of people just don't have the correct structure when it comes to sales. So more than anything, it's just putting the wrong people in the wrong seats that are the right people in the right seats. So you might have some great people, they're just not in the correct seat. So the company's not able to grow and perform at its highest level.
Wow, I think anyone who runs a business can relate to having at some point in time the wrong people in the wrong seat that's actually stopping them from hitting that growth. How would you recommend somebody, in the business be able to have that bird's eyes view to identify who might be in the wrong seats and what kind of action steps should they take to correct that?
So you have to really, what we talk about in our core formula is there's three levels. At an ownership level, there's certain tasks that you might be doing if you're a small business where you're wearing a lot of hats. And you really start to have to divide the different hats that you're wearing and theoretically change your different hats to look at the different views. But if you're an owner and you're trying to grow your company, you have to make sure that you understand what's a management level hat and what's a team member hat. So a management hat is a driving hat. This means this hat is in some way creating movement and momentum within the business. They're improving something and creating continuous growth and systemization. and they really all they're breathing and living off of is data. Now, on the flip side, a team member is an execution role. They're creating that data. They're providing the results to the client. They're the ones executing the day-to-day side of it. So, if you're an owner and you're doing all of that, sometimes it's hard for you to put on the management hat, and even worse, to put on the ownership hat. You really have to little by little start to divide that out. And if you already have an established team, you have to really make sure management equals momentum, growth, systemization, and reviewing KPIs and creating separate KPIs that are associated to growth. And execution is KPIs to hold people accountable to maintain the systems and processes that you're developing and creating. So that's a long-winded answer.
I love it. No, it's so important because a lot of people who are listening to this right now, they're in some sort of growth stage, right? Whether it's really a conservative growth, more of like a, more steady growth, or, one of those really trying to scale fast. And these things are important. So would you say setting up, like for those wondering, they might have some team members in place, some processes. Should people focus more on the process and structure first and then the team, or the team and then building out the process and structure? Which kind of way would you recommend people look at it, or does it depend?
100% it depends because really process and structure, if you have no money, like that's a great way to have nothing to organize. So you really have to look at them together. Your process and structure needs to be fitting towards where you're at today, but also good enough to take you to where you want to go next. Another issue is a lot of times people think, oh, I have a process within my business. It's kind of like a set it and forget it thing. And it's the same thing as training. It's something that's ongoing. You're always having to revisit the same conversations, even in my own business and even in our business together. Like we're always looking at things and saying like, hey, what can I do to now revisit what I'm already been doing that was working back then, but now I have to change it. So understanding that you don't need to have everything perfect to get to where you want to be, but you have to continuously put that effort to improve.
I like that. Yeah, I think about it when I think about marketing and even like someone's website, right? It's like a living, breathing thing that needs to be updated as industry changes happen, as company changes happen. It sounds like processes are the same. You don't have to fix what's not broken necessarily, but processes will change as the company grows or goes in different directions, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. And once you're at a certain size, you can start to think ahead of the processes that you want. So then you're now projecting the next phase and then coming back and implementing it into the business. When you're in the day-to-day grind and you're still a small business, sometimes you hear people say, oh, well, you need a process. And you're like, I don't need a process. I do everything myself. Well, unless you plan on doing everything yourself indefinitely, you need a process to get you to the next step.
Definitely. Yeah, I've made that mistake before, and having a team is so much cooler than trying to do everything yourself. Speaking of like scaling and structure, I absolutely love. So, one of the things you teach in the roofing systems class that, hundreds of roofers have gone through now at this point is the three most common company structures. Okay, could you kind of talk about that a little bit at like a high level for those who
Sure.
don't know?
So the different structures, and it's just the different types of business models. And then really what I teach is how it applies to roofing. So a simple structure is where the owner is wearing all of the hats. He's the chief everything officer or she. And then the second level is a functional structure, which is where an owner starts to try to create some kind of organization and departments. Maybe they have an admin now who may later become a glorified operations manager, and they maybe have a sales rep, maybe they have someone out in the field. They're probably still wearing a lot of hats in the beginning, but their goal until they're getting to that 15 to 20 million dollars a year range is they're just trying to build out what's called a functional structure. Now, some companies end up getting to 10, 15, 20 million dollars a year from one location, and that's great, and they keep a functional structure. Some companies have to expand into different territories, which is called a multi-divisional structure, and that's the third one, where you now have to have a functional structure within multiple different territories, different zip codes. And so those are different people that are all reporting back to the main headquarters. So it's really how to implement that at scale. It's a lot harder to create the multi-divisional structure if you're a larger organization who maybe you're making 20, 30 million dollars a year, but your profitability is just not where you want it to be, or you don't have the scalability that you'd like. It's a lot harder to implement structure, process, and accountability at that level. And sometimes companies that are doing well scale back a little bit and lose money for a year or two while they're trying to tweak things while they're already running and they're bigger. So that's why it's so much easier to build a functional structure at the ground level and have that as a foundation to add on to as well.
So from what you're describing, that functional structure could actually get you from pretty much zero or starting out once you decide you're not going to do everything yourself as an owner, all the way through to like 15 million in revenue. You could use that structure successfully.
Yes, all that it is just how many people are within that structure. Because a functional structure is designed to help support whether it's 3 people or you could have 25 people. It's not people based, it's just department and process execution based. And really, all of the formulas that we have written are just plug and play. It just depends what level of size of revenue and team. It just changes the amount of people within it, but they are plug and play.
That's amazing. Yeah, that structure is just it's like the playbook. Like if you think about it, it literally shows you exactly how to scale, who you need to hire and put in place to go from chief everything officer to actually running an organization, which feels so great once you do it. So I just want to think about that owner because I think we've been there before, right? We know a lot of people who are there. They are in that chief everything officer mode still, and they have a successful company maybe, like, they're already producing revenue. How do you look, like, what would you suggest to them when they're looking at, like, okay, right now they're acting as the sales manager, the production manager, they're helping, overseeing the office team. Like, how would you recommend they kind of remove those hats? Because I would imagine it's not like oh, I'm just going to go from doing everything to not in a day. It's like there's a strategy there.
Yeah. And I think even when we've had to ask ourselves this question, it's always, and we continue to ask this question in a different way now, but it's what can I do that's going to create the most impact within the business? And sometimes you are in a place where you have to just get things done and you don't have the luxury to spend a lot of time in what can I do to create impact? It's more of like, I have to do this. But the challenge is to start taking yourself and start asking yourself that and execute at what level you can. So sometimes we don't start to build out and work on the business just because we're like, I don't have the time. And so we're staying in this place of I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this, I can't handle it. When in reality, if you just picked one thing that took you 15 to 20 minutes that would help move the needle just a little bit, you would actually be able to execute. And not just most owners struggle with just picking one small task because in some form we all have like ADHD and we're distracted because we're doing a million things at once. But what I've learned is just pick a single task. Finish it fully. Don't pick the task that's going to take you a week. Pick the task that's going to take you under an hour that you can do every week. Just one task every week, something that I can do is going to take me less than an hour, but it's going to help improve the business in some way, shape, or form. So, for example, and sometimes that's, hey, I need to work on this specific part of my sales process. Don't pick your entire sales process and say, I'm going to improve my entire sales process this week. Because most of the time, if you're still in the driver's seat of the business, you're not going to finish it this week. I guarantee you. So pick out instead, hey, and for my estimating portion of the business, one thing that I really need to do a little bit better is present my estimate a lot more streamlined. So maybe I should make a nice flyer to present with my estimates. And that's a small task. It doesn't have to be the most work of art estimate, but anything that's an improvement from wherever you are at. And then next month, you can view the same estimate flyer and say, how can I make this estimate flyer a little bit better in less than an hour? So it's picking a small task that moves the needle that you're actually gonna finish and start and finish in the same hour.
Whoa, that is so key because a lot of us look at something and we're like, we need to revamp the whole process. The whole department's up in flames. But really, it's just like isolating, okay, what's one thing that could actually move the needle? And I talk about a lot with marketing, like even conversion rate. If you do nothing else but just increase your conversion rate by 1%, 2%, I mean, that small percent is actually a big reflection in revenue because it could account for many more booked appointments. And it sounds like that's the same thing from the process side. Don't try to overhaul the whole company, the whole department in one go. Pick those things. And I think that that's so key. I told you I wasn't holding back. I was going to ask the questions and dive in deep with you today on everything about roofing scaling processes.
Yeah, I think that answer didn't just apply to process. It's structure, process, and accountability, which is the SPA formula we've been creating and using. So that's really what our goal is as a team is to develop more SPA for you, structure, process, and accountability as a whole.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing I want to talk about as well because it's such a good acronym and it has us looking at things completely differently. I'm sure many of you have never heard of the SPA method, something Liz created here at Business 411, and that's the strategy we teach to roofing companies. So I want to kind of talk about, the scaling part of things a little bit more because people want to grow. That's why they're here. They want to fix their bottlenecks and they want to get to the next level in their company. And so what are some of the first things a roofing business owner should do if they want to scale?
Yeah, it really depends at what level you're at. If you're the owner operator bottleneck, your first task is to create some kind of help to get you out of that. So that might mean, hiring someone if that's within your budget, or it might mean you might have to sell a little bit more, budget a little bit more to be able to afford to hire someone. But typically to get out of the owner operator bottleneck, you need some help. I don't recommend hiring help if you can't afford it. So in that case, you have to afford it in order to be able to create it. If you're the bottleneck at a manager level, if you're still in some way, shape, or form bottlenecking the business in a management level, then you really have to figure out where do I need to place another level of help who can focus on not just doing what I'm doing, but does it better, creates more results, and creates more revenue. And even myself, I was the bottleneck for sales for a long time. I was selling a couple million by myself, and it was just bottlenecking the business. And so it was not working. So we had to bring in more help. We had to bring in more support and have a sales team. And then I was the bottleneck in a sales management capacity. So it's just continuing to grow and evolve and ask yourself that question till you get into the right seat that you need to be, which as an owner, it is that CEO seat. It does not happen overnight. I'm 5, 6 years in. There's been times where I'm able to not have to be sucked into the day to day. And then there's times where I'm the day to day. I am the day to day. So it just depends where you're at. All you have to do is really be able to evolve and be more open-minded and also do the work that you need to know to be in a place where you're in a headspace that you can evolve. And just to quickly add, there's a lot of owners that I talk to that they are too burnt out to even do this. And you cannot operate and say, I want to grow while you're burnt out. You need a second to like breathe, compose yourself, get it together before you start thinking about growth. Because if you're burnt out and your nervous system is shutting down and you have anxiety, that's not the time for you to say, I want to grow the business. It's how the heck can I get into a better mindset that I can actively grow the business in a positive way? Because you might make the wrong decisions just because you're operating from a place of fear and anxiety, and that's not going to produce the results that you want. And you really have to be in a positive place in order to be able to grow any business, anyone.
Totally. And we talk to so many roofing companies. I mean, everyone within the company, not just the owners, but we talk to so many owners and we have the privilege of helping them. But one thing I notice is a lot of owners are still sitting in the sales seat, meaning
Mhm.
they cannot stop selling. They either love selling, they're so used to it, and it kind of almost keeps them stuck in
Fun.
the day to day. I know it keeps them stuck to the day to day, but it also brings revenue. So how do you think an owner should navigate that if they're still in the sales process, actively selling? Like, how do they transition? Should they transition? Like, what do you look at there?
The thing is, if you're selling and you're the owner and you want to keep selling, then it needs to be at a higher level. So what that means is you should have a team that's selling now. You're training people to sell at a lower level, but from a high level as the owner, you have the ability to sell in a different way. With partnerships, with relationships you're building, by creating more referrals, by creating more opportunities for the business. So you're still selling as the owner. It's just who you're selling to, and then once you've built out that side of the business, you have someone kind of step into it. And then as the owner, you kind of have your time back and you get to supervise sales and you can decide, hey, today I'm going to get out in the field. Like, for example, earlier this week, I was dialing with the sales team. Is it my core responsibility? No. Was it fun for me? Yes. Did I have a great time doing it? Yes. And got to learn a little bit about the business on what the sales reps are doing from what I actually thought they were doing. And then I got the opportunity to see what I could improve and fix. So, from an owner's perspective who loves selling, because I love selling, it's like who I am. I sold until I literally knew that if I didn't create an option for someone else to sell, I was never going to make more money for the business. I was going to stop the opportunities that we had. And yeah, I had to fire myself. And I fired myself quite a few times.
I love that. Yeah, it's so relatable. And we hear it so many times from roofing company owners who are still in that seat. So I think that's a really important part. If you're looking to scale your business, you got to recognize like, hey, there's got to be a better way. And it really comes down to like, having running a company, like actually owning a company or just like working in the day to day, and you got to decide what you want for yourself. And so talking about like scaling in terms of team, I think that's really important, and it's something, you've really mastered. And so I know we're launching, I want to talk about like the vision behind the launch a little bit of Roof Team University, which is helping roofing companies to build their teams. Like tell us about how the difference in training can really affect the growth of a roofing organization.
Yeah, and I'll kind of explain it through the story and the experience that I've had and how we kind of got to where we're at today. So for a long time, like how I started Business 411, I was a consultant for roofers, and that's kind of what got us to where we're at today. Was for a long time I sat there and I listened to people's problems and I tried to solve those problems individually until I realized like these are patterns of problems. This is not a one person told me this and then someone else said something else. It was a pattern of the same issues in everybody's business. And so then I created templates as solutions with the team and really started to formalize my consulting approach at that time and going one on one to different companies and putting together these processes in place and standardizing them and finding the overlaps. Fast forward to our COO of Business 411, Kelly. She really is great at identifying those opportunities where we could get to that next level and her seeing what we're doing. And she's like, hey, let's do this roofing. Let's do this as a roofing manual. And so I think it's important to also have someone else on your team that's spotting the plays that you're doing and how could you be doing them better. It's hard for the owners who are doing it all on their own, but if there's an advisor that you can ask for a third party perspective, I think that if we had that even more often as a company, we would be even further along. I think having someone who can look at what you're doing and say, "Hey, this is the next level. This is how you do things better." But providing that third party perspective, seeing where the gaps are to evolve to the next level, and then spotting those trends, that kind of moved us into the next phase of growth, which is where we started doing the group classes. And again, I was so stuck in the, hey, I'm going to be a consultant, I'm doing these things, I'm helping these businesses, and we're feeding both of the businesses in some way, shape, or form, that, it wasn't until again my CEO was like, look, we need to start doing this in a group format. Like, you're out there traveling every single week. This is a lot. Like, we could be doing this a lot better. So then we started the group classes, and the group classes were going amazing and we're doing good. And then again, my CEO, Kelly, she was like, hey, we're doing these group classes, we need to get to the next level and provide this as an online university. People are asking for it, they're trying to self-implement what we're doing, it's too much work. And so then it's like, now we have this new product. And so I think for me, what I've seen from helping my clients, when I'm pushing them, they make better decisions and they kind of see the opportunities because they're stuck in the tunnel vision of what they're doing that's working and that's gotten them to where they're at, that sometimes they need someone to just look at things and say, hey, look, you could be doing this and tweak this. So I think having someone trusted on your team that's spotting those weak areas for you could really help out. I think even from, what you've built on the marketing side and all the hard work that you've put in throughout these years, it's really easy to see like you can work very hard and accomplish any goal. It's just how you get there and how you lay your head to sleep at night. It might be full of stress and you might have the opportunity to be in a more positive place. I think definitely if you have the ability, it doesn't have to be a business partner, but someone that's a trusted advisor who can give you some third party perspective as you're growing, it really might help you. And that's how we evolved, was just having some third party perspective on ways that I could implement what I know works for roofers in a better way than what I was doing at the time. So I think as a leadership team, having the alignment and now even us working together to bring Roof Team University to Marketing 411 and Business 411 together united is it's so motivating. Like, it's really, really inspiring.
Yeah, something you touched on, I want everyone to recognize this pattern. You didn't say, I figured this out. I figured this out. You said the COO, this person on the team. And that is why scalability happens is because it's not just reliant on the owner. You actually have that trusted advisor, the trusted people on your team who are closer to projects than you and can actually share valuable insights from the marketplace, from the direction of the company to help guide things to meet the demand. And that was so key in what you said.
I think now we have another one on the team that's really spotting that, which is our sales manager spotting the gaps where we could be doing things better so that I'm able to execute my job better. So I think it's just bringing high level individuals together that are spotting those gaps is a major key. If in any way, shape, or form you can do that and have the resources to do it, I'd highly recommend it.
Definitely. And one of the things that we're so passionate, both of us, is about helping, and we've seen this, is as owners is empowering our teams. And one of the core missions behind Roof Team University is exactly that, giving roofing owners the ability to empower their teams through education, through trainings, and having the right foundation so they could be successful within the company, within their career. Tell me a little bit about that. How have you seen the differences from a team member who's, not trained versus is trained and like the owners who actually invest in their team's training, like how that could differ the company's growth?
Well, first of all, as an owner, you need to be getting training on how to execute better. Like, I think I'm very a humble student. I'm always willing to learn from other coaches, from other people, and from my own team. So, being willing to learn as an owner is probably the first step. If you don't have the attitude of learning, it's very hard to say your team is going to have that attitude of learning because that's a culture. Learning and evolving is a culture as a team, having a way for your team to see, hey, look, this is what I could be doing better, and then small actionable steps that they could also implement and breaking down these big trainings and SOPs into actionable items, which is why in all of the manuals and the content that I write, I always include some kind of actionable step for the team to execute on. So I think that's really one of the keys is training is awesome, but if it's not associated to a KPI and to something that's actionable, then it's just a fancy way to say, hey, look, I'm doing a good job as an owner. And really I think sometimes owners buy more training for their team with from an ego perspective, like, hey, look, I did this training, nobody implemented it, my team is not doing well, right? Instead of coming from a place of service, hey, I got this training for you guys. Give me some feedback. Where can we implement it better? Hey, did you see that on the training? And actively being a participant into your team development versus being a third party. And I've seen the difference when I'm working with my team on training versus when I just gave them a training and expected them to do well. So I think training is an act of leadership where you're showing and demonstrating to your team, hey, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to do things better. How can we do this better together? And I think it's very hard to see that perspective sometimes as an owner because, we're stuck in our tunnel vision.
Definitely. And you just touched on the A within the SPA method, accountability. So it sounds like those checklists and getting that feedback and making it a part of the culture is a huge part of just that accountability. I can't tell you how many times you implement something as an owner and then you turn your head because you're on to the next thing and actually nothing gets done from what you've implemented. So that accountability portion is just so important. And,
Mhm.
if you're an owner wearing many hats, I think a hat you really need to focus on wearing is the coaching hat, right? Because it's up to you to coach your team, essentially. You are the coach of the team. And one of the craziest statistics is people actually don't leave companies because more money, because of all these other things. They leave because of the number one reason is actually because of their manager. So having good coaches, you're not only are you putting your coaching hat on, but you're finding other coaches is just it's a part of this process. So you could have the best training in the world, but you also need the best coaches to implement it with the team.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I really have gotten to where I'm at from coaches that I've sought out and coaching other people. I think coaching makes you better at whatever it is that you're doing because I have to be better than who I was yesterday, not because just I want to, but also there's people that are counting on me. And when I'm coaching them, I have to improve at least 1% so that they could improve 1%. And that compound effect of I'm improving, there's multiple people on my team are improving. We're all working really hard together and we're a team. That mindset, I've even seen the difference in our own business when I'm operating from that place versus where I'm not. So I think it's just important to understand that you don't have to be perfect to get started, but you have to get started to be perfect. I love that quote.
I love that as well. So talking about structure and scaling, that naturally leads me to a really important part of scaling, right? Because you could have the right training, you could have the right team, and that's great. That's one battle that you need to, to get through. But then in order to scale, you need more sales and marketing, right? So I want to talk about building a brand because it's something you've done, extraordinary well. I mean, you've built the 411 brand that a lot of people in the roofing and home service space know who you are. They know who the brand is. Well, how do you build a brand that's so magnetic like that?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the compliment. But
I may be biased. I don't know.
But for me, it all started with my personal brand. I think that's what helped me become more than just a sales rep at the time and start to, before I even knew that I was a consultant, I was consulting. And it just came out of a desire to help other people. And I had very little information that I could actually help them with. It is definitely something that I had to increase my education in order to be able to help people more. But even at the very, very foundational level, when all I really knew how to help them with was measurements, estimating, and material orders, I was like, I'm going to be the best at helping someone with this. And so I'm someone that really, like a lot of us, is so concerned about my quality and what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to build and protecting my reputation through all of these phases of growth that it's almost sometimes held us back because we could be probably further along than where we're at, but it wouldn't have been who we are today. There's been times where, I've said we've had to pull back the growth because we just exploded out of nowhere. Like when I started, I knew I was gonna do well and I had the vision and the dream, but I didn't know what it was gonna take to get there. And I think that's a lot of us as business owners. We have these ambitions, we have these dreams. We know it's gonna be a lot of work, but then we don't necessarily know what it's gonna take. And then now we're in the process of our business is exploding and we're trying to protect our brand and our reputation. And so a smart business owner is always going to protect that first and do right by their customers, which is a an ongoing decision that you're making is doing right by others. But that being the core message of our brand and being something that we're serving others is just because that's who I was from the very, very beginning. And the business just magnified that. So my personal brand being associated with someone who cares and wants to help others and knows their craft well built the business brand to where it really was the foundation. And then now to evolve that brand, it's been you have to create massive results for others. So it's not just enough to have a good brand, to be ethical and to have good quality, but you have to do it at a bigger scale than what you did when you started. And to do that, you need people. You need people in order to make an impact, which is why in the 411 class, I talk about having your impact formula, your impact statement. My impact statement was I wanted to inspire people and build momentum to promote and improve my cause, which is to improve the perception of contractors. I want people to be proud to say, hey, hey, I'm a roofer. I'm in the trades. I'm someone who, came from a high school education. I'm a high school dropout. I didn't, like many of the people in the trades, didn't have a lot of options on how to become successful. And I had to work very freaking hard to be here since I was 16 years old. I always had multiple jobs and did quite a bit. So I think that for other people, it resonates with them because I'm being authentic to who I am since I very, very first started. And so they just wanted to help me. So I had so many people that were way more successful than me that helped me and trained me and taught me everything about roofing. And then from the other side, when it comes to them helping me, I was like, okay, so many people helped me. I have to help others. And then through helping others, that other people helping other people and having that attitude of service has just created so much results and positivity for everyone. And even you, that's why you aligned with the mission because you're someone who cares and you saw the impact of what we were going to do for others. The road is never perfect or linear, but it's just we're still at the same destination and we're trying to get to where we need to be.
Yeah, and something you've done was in this process talking about just brand and building, people really got behind you because you shared the process. Like as you were going through things, I feel like you shared the good, the bad, the ugly. Like you were really transparent about that journey when it was ups and downs. Like you didn't hide and just say, "Oh, look at this. We won this crazy award or we, have this many customers." It was also like, "Oh, hey guys, this happened too." And I feel like people really felt connected to that story because it's what we really go through. How do you feel like with people when they're, as an owner in a company in general, sharing what's happening within their company more transparently to get people really connected to the purpose?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between like authenticity and trauma dumping. And I think that some people who just are not authentic trauma dump as a way to like find authenticity to with others. And so I think it's important as an owner when you're sharing your story, you understand why you're sharing your story, what's the purpose. And to be frank, a lot of times I've been embarrassed about what I've gone through and like my own struggles in my personal life and it wasn't until people understood, like, hey, the reason I dropped out is because my mom became schizophrenic and I had no choice but to become a business owner. I had no choice but to become successful. And they all resonated because at some point they faced a decision where it took them to a place where they had no other choice but to put in the work to get to where they're at. So it should never be sharing your story and being authentic shouldn't be a buzzword and it shouldn't be something that you're just throwing any negative emotion or anything bad that you've gone through just to get some sympathy. It should be more of a place of empowerment. And from that place of, if I got through that, you can get through whatever you're doing. If I'm come from where I come from and I've been able to accomplish this, you can do more. And so it's inspiring others when you're authentic to who you are. You inspire them through what you've overcame not see to like, hey, what can I get people to feel bad for me and like do things for me? Like that's a very different approach. And I think that's what's really shown to others is I authentically share my struggles in a way to get people motivated and inspire them to do more and understand that we're all just human. We're all living this experience to try to learn, evolve, and grow. And from a human perspective, it's okay to make mistakes and to keep learning and because we have the rest of our lives that we're trying to accomplish here and so building our businesses is supposed to help us become a better person because we're building ourselves. So I think that's really what people have gotten from us and that's why the community at Business 411, if you come to a class, everyone's so humble, so caring, like the best people and most successful people that I know. Like someone could be worth, 100 million plus in our class just wearing the most basic clothes, doesn't even care, not even flashing. You'd never know who you're sitting down next to because I think we just have such a nice group of people who are successful and just amazing, amazing individuals. I feel very lucky.
Yeah, we definitely are. You touched on so many important things there, about impact and just, brand is really the feeling also people get when seeing, your logo, when seeing interacting with you as a representation of the company. I have to touch on this because everybody asks about their logo when it comes to branding. That's one of the first things they think of is like the logo, the tagline. And something we've been really verbal about is like, they come to us, is this logo okay? And it's like just a standard roof line. But what are your opinions on like, investing into a logo, a brand, a mascot? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I think your logo and your brand, your main goal should be to be memorable, right? Easily forgotten makes very expensive marketing. So if your brand is currently easily forgotten, if you're easily forgotten and you're not making an impression through your sales process and your marketing, then that's a challenge. It's going to make things more expensive and harder for you. If you're somebody that's memorable and your brand is memorable, then it's going to be a lot easier to make the impact. Like something funny, when even when we released Marketing 411 page and it had your face on it, someone commented and they said, "Is this a ripoff of Business 411?" But obviously, it's the same sister brand and we have the same companies together. It's just that that brand is so important that people, anything that they see that's even like the brand, they're going to be like, hey, they're trying to be like this person. So it sets the standard. And I think more importantly, from a roofing perspective, homeowners are people just like us. They're busy. They have kids, they have responsibilities, they have bills. If it's a homeowner who also owns a business, they're also even more busy than their typical customer. So making it a pleasant experience that they remember from a branding perspective, catching their attention. It's hard because we live in the the world of 5 second scrolling. Like you're not even, dude, you're lucky if you get 60 seconds. It used to be like, yo, it takes 60 seconds to make an impression. Not anymore. It takes like a blink of an eye. Like by the time I blink, if you didn't get my attention with the way society is right now, you're screwed. I'm moving on to the next thing. So I would just say if you cannot get the attention of someone with your brand in the blink of an eye in today's age, it will make your marketing more challenging. It doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. It just might not be as easy as if you had a little bit more of that memorability factor. And it might make your sales process a little bit harder and that conversion. So you really want to stand out from the moment they blink your eyes, apparently now.
No, it's true. I think the one thing is be memorable, no matter what that looks like, because we see it on the marketing front too. Like our best campaigns with like the best costs and stuff are from the brands who are best, best built out, most memorable. It really does help all around. And it's something more. So we've talked about team today. We've talked about scaling. We've talked about structure. It's also something that your team's proud to wear. They're proud to put the hat on. They're proud to wear the shirt. Like you want people to be proud of what they're representing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, okay, we are almost wrapping up here, but before we do, I have something called This or That Roofing Edition. And basically, what it is I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say two things, and you have to choose only one of the two things I say, and we're going to spit fire through it. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Residential or commercial roofing?
Dude, what?
You got to spit fire. Choose one.
Oh my God. No. Commercial roofing.
Retail or insurance?
Retail.
Subcontractors or in-house crews?
Subcontractors.
Lead volume or lead quality?
Quality.
Manual processes or automation tools?
Automation tools.
Profit margins or revenue growth?
Come on here. If I have to pick, well, obviously profits. All right, go ahead. Profits.
Hiring fast or hiring slow?
Firing fast.
Storm work or just retail sales?
Retail sales.
Growth through marketing or growth through referrals?
Marketing.
All right. A project manager or a production manager?
Project manager. This is not rapid fire.
Data-driven decisions or gut instincts?
Come on, where did you get these questions? Gut instincts.
All right. Local domination or multi-city expansion?
Local domination.
Invest in tech or team?
You need to do both. Team.
Fast scaling or sustainable scaling?
Sustainable.
Hands-on leadership or delegated leadership?
Hands on.
Marketing first or sales first?
I object. Okay. Jeez. Marketing
Love it. All right, training people from scratch or hiring people who already have experience?
experience.
One CRM or tech tool that does it all or a specialized tool for each function?
A specialized tool.
Scaling by territory or scaling by service type?
Definitely service type.
Weekly team meetings or daily huddles?
Daily huddles.
Big jobs, low volume, or small jobs, high volume?
Small jobs, high volume.
We have a winner. You made it through. This or that roofing edition.
Dude, that's crazy. Where did you get these questions? I hated them. I didn't want
Listen,
to choose any of them. The answer to all of them is actually both, probably in every case. It was just like, really, all of them have some caveat, like not fair, not cool, I don't like this. 0 out of 10.
oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so much when it comes to, scaling a business. It's really not this or that. I think it's just something fun we do.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're right. All these things could apply to everyone. So I want to kind of wrap things up with a message to somebody to listening to this right now who is growing their operations and is looking to, scale. What's like the biggest piece of advice you could leave them with today?
I would say that what's the most important is for you to build a business that makes you happy at whatever level it is. If your happiness is really, really just revenue driven and your goal is what's going to make you feel happy and accomplished and fulfilled, and really instead of happy, a correct word, it's fulfilled for it, something that brings you fulfillment. If you're not going to reach that within your business, unless your business is doing 100 million plus, then understand that it's going to be something different and you might have to sacrifice some time. So if you're someone who just doesn't want to sacrifice your time and your fulfillment comes from family and being a present parent, and it looks a little bit different, understand that that might mean slower growth. It might mean you can get to 100 million, but it's just going to look different. If you could care less if you make 100 million and you just want to make a great living and you want to take all of your profits and reinvest it into a way that brings you wealth passively through real estate, through whatever other businesses, whatever makes you happy and fulfilled, then understand that, hey, maybe I'm just going to make 5, 6, 7 million dollars a year, be able to sleep peacefully at night, and take all of that money and invest into something else, whether it's the stock market, whatever you makes you happy. So I think that it's understanding there's no right, there's no wrong answer. No one has all of the answers for you. They just can give you more context and information so you can choose what's right for you, for your specific business. And ultimately, I don't think that there's a right way to do things. I've seen things done a million different ways and people being successful in each of them. So at the end of the day, follow what is the right path for you and work very, very hard to make a positive impact.
Amazing. And that goes back to designing your dream company, design a company that works around your life, not the other way around. And it sounds like, no matter what that is, you will have success and happiness, and so important. So thank you, Liz, so much. For anyone who is looking to level up, they do want the roof training, they do want to come to a class or just see what Business 411 is all about, where can they find you and find Business 411?
Yeah, so you can find Business 411. We are on Facebook, Business 411, or visit us on our website, business411.com. Or you can also follow me, Liz for Biz, on my Instagram, also Elizabeth Hogan on Facebook. Anywhere you can find Business 411 with yellow lightning bolts coming at you, that's where we're at.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys, everyone, so much for tuning in, and go check out Business 411. Seriously, you will not regret it. We have the blueprint already laid out for you. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thanks, guys. Take care. Thank you, Ariel.
Bye.